The mystery of the forgotten alley. In the heart of an ancient city, situated in an unknown time and place, there was a dark neighborhood shrouded in mystery. This area was famous for its strange stories. Doors opening on their own, eerie sounds emerging from dark corners, yet no one dared investigate. A young and ambitious journalist, Rami, had heard about these strange tales through stories passed around by locals in an old cafe. Intrigued by the mystery, he decided to explore the neighborhood himself, assuming it was nothing more than rumors. One evening, he decided to visit the area late at night, when no one would be on the streets. He thought the darkness would help him sneak around unnoticed. As he entered the narrow, crumbling alley, his eyes shifted between the narrow streets, where decaying houses cast strange shadows on the walls. While walking through one of the alleys, Rami noticed an old door slowly creaking open. He hesitated at first, but the curiosity of a journalist pushed him to step inside. The house's wooden floor creaked as he walked, and the walls were covered with old photographs of mysterious faces. In one corner stood an ancient wardrobe. As he approached, he heard a faint voice as if someone were calling his name. He cautiously opened the wardrobe, finding an old box covered in dust. He opened it slowly and discovered inside a set of ancient diaries written in an unfamiliar hand. He read some of the cryptic words that hinted at a great secret hidden within this neighborhood. Suddenly, he heard footsteps approaching. Panicked, Rami quickly shut the box, grabbed the diaries, and rushed toward the door. But when he stepped outside, something felt off. The streets had changed entirely, and it seemed as though time had stopped. Everything around him had vanished, and he was lost in a strange world where he could no longer distinguish between reality and illusion. As he tried to escape this bizarre world, he realized there were invisible forces controlling this place. He began to understand that the diaries he had taken were a key to delving deeper into the mystery of this haunted neighborhood. Days passed as Rami uncovered more secrets about the area and its vanished inhabitants. In the end, he had to make a critical decision. Would he uncover the truth behind this enigma, or remain trapped in this dark world forever? Rami continued exploring this strange neighborhood, which felt completely different from the reality he knew. The streets were unnaturally narrow, and the buildings were covered in dust as if time had frozen here for centuries. Everything seemed odd, but what was most unsettling was that this place didn't obey the usual rules of time and space. Trees moved in the wrong direction, shadows played with the light, and the sounds around him grew louder and more repetitive. He had no choice but to continue, trying to make sense of what was happening. He found himself in a small square with a dry fountain, but in the depths of the water, a foggy image of a strange woman appeared. Her eyes were full of sadness and worry, and the voice he was hearing became clearer, repeating, "Look for the answer in the place that is unseen." This phrase stirred both curiosity and fear within him. He began searching for any clues that might help him understand what was happening. As he wandered, he began to feel something heavy pressing on his chest. There was an invisible force trying to stop him from moving forward. But driven by his journalistic curiosity, he pressed on. Eventually, he came across an old iron gate, rusted and seemingly open just for him. He walked through it and found himself in a dark courtyard. At that moment, Rami remembered the diaries he had found in the wardrobe. He opened them quickly and read more of the cryptic lines, which revealed the history of the neighborhood. It turned out that this place had once been home to an ancient family with supernatural powers. The family members were capable of manipulating time and space, and they had created a parallel world full of secrets. But they had mysteriously vanished centuries ago, leaving behind a force called the Shadow, an invisible entity that controlled this world, feeding off those who got lost within it. At that moment, Rami began to understand what was happening. He had fallen into the trap of this strange world created by the family to hide their secret. But it wasn't as simple as it seemed. He realized that the Shadow was trying to use him as a tool to control this dark world. Rami tried to escape again, but the door through which he had entered suddenly slammed shut. Despair crept over him, but then he remembered the words spoken by the mysterious voice. "Look for the answer in the place that is unseen." He began to think more deeply about this phrase. It became clear to him that the answer was hidden within the diaries themselves. There was an old map concealed between the pages, pointing to a location within this world where he could find the key to escape. He followed the map through narrow alleys and dark buildings. Finally, he arrived at a strange place. A completely dark room, except for a faint beam of light emanating from a large mirror in the corner. As he approached the mirror, he saw that what reflected wasn't his own image, but that of a strange woman. Her eyes glistened with both sorrow and anger. She spoke quietly. "I have been trapped here for years. You cannot escape easily. If you want to leave, you must pay the price." It became clear to Rami that this woman was part of the neighborhood's mysterious history, and that he had to pay a price to learn the secret of this place. He had to confront the shadow itself. Rami decided to face it. As he moved closer to the shadows in the room, everything around him seemed to spiral into chaos and confusion. The mysterious force tried to pull him deeper, but he gathered his strength and faced the shadows with determination. After moments of mental and psychological struggle, he realized that the only way to escape was to stop fighting the shadow and accept its presence. Once he did, everything around him started to return to normal. Suddenly, Rami found himself back on the familiar streets, a sense of relief washing over him. He was back in his own world, but with his memory burdened by everything he had seen in that strange place. He realized that the secret of the neighborhood was deeper than just a puzzle. The neighborhood itself was a place of spirituality, a gateway between worlds, and the shadow was what connected all these parallel realms. As he walked home, he felt something watching him. He glanced over his shoulder, but saw nothing. Nevertheless, he felt in his heart that the mystery would never truly end, and that he would remain a part of the tales of this dark alley forever.